Hey everyone. So today we are going to be learning about colored pencils and layering and colored mixing to help us prepare for our projects. So I believe that you should have these two worksheets. They might not be in color, but you have the gist of it. So we are going to start with this worksheet over here. So I'll move this out of the way. That one we don't need. I don't think I provided you guys that one. So like I said, we're going to start with this worksheet. And then you should have a colored pencil pack that looks something like this. Hopefully they're on the counter. If they're not, you can find them in the cabinet closest to the chalkboard underneath. They should be stacked in this like metal tin. All right. So these are professional grade colored pencils. So you have all of your colors here. And they also have numbers. I think you guys actually might have more colors than I do with my teacher pack here. So no big deal, just find something that's close. All right, so the first thing we are going to do is we are going to start with our value scale over here. So we are going to need 3 colors. We are going to need a red, so I'm going to choose red number 8. You are also going to need the black, which is number 54, and then white, which is number 1. All right, so you want to make sure that your pencils are really nice and sharp. That way it gets into the grooves of the paper. If you've ever colored and there's like kind of that graininess happening, that's because your colored pencils aren't sharp enough and the dull tip can't get in those like little fiber beds. Okay. So we are going to start with our white. So you could take the time and actually like shade this in with the white colored pencil. I feel like that's kind of a waste of time, but if that's something you want to do, you can. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take my colored pencil and I'm going to lay it to the side. That way I get more surface area and so I don't crease the paper. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to put in the white first. And the reason that I'm doing this is so that, because we're going to do this, we're going to do a layering a few times. By putting the white down, it kind of ensures that I don't go too hard with the red. So I'm kind of not allowing the red to be soaked up as much. All right, that looks pretty good. Again, I always hold the pencil to the back. That way I have the least amount of pressure. That way I don't so I have more control with the pressure. If I hold it towards the point, I'm more likely to put a lot of pressure on here. So this helps me keep my pencil lines nice and light and loose if I hold it towards the end, kind of like a conductor or Harry Potter, like a wand. All right, so same thing. I'm gonna go in. And you can kind of, like when you start to color, you start to feel the resistance. Like you feel it doesn't go on as smooth because we already put that white in there. All right, so put in that nice white shape. It's okay if you go out of the boxes a little bit. Just try to be conscious of staying in it somewhat. We do want to practice good craftsmanship, but it's not a deal breaker if you go out slightly outside the lines. So I usually like to layer, at least twice with each color. So you get a good mix. It's tough to see with where you're coloring with the white because it's white, but all right, so I'm going to switch on back. And I'm trying to even out so I have a nice even tone. So some of the areas that maybe are a little bit lighter, I might spend a little more time adding the color in there and avoiding maybe the areas that, I put a little bit too much pigment down. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so next we're just going to do straight up red. There's no blending this time. Try to have it go in one direction. Sometimes it's a little tough. And then I will turn it to the side, but you want to make sure that like it at least blends nicely so that you can't really tell that you switch direction with your pencil. So again, I went a little hard right there in that center. I got that little line, so I don't want to just blend that out. So I'm just going to add a little bit more pigment to the other areas. It starts to kind of dissipate and disappear. All right, great. I've got my red done. All right, next we're going to do our red shade. So we're going to bounce back and forth between the red and the black. So we're going to do a thin layer of red first, a little bit of black, red, and then black. Okay. Just want a nice even tone. I feel like it's a little heavy on the left-hand side. Fabulous. All right, so now I'm going to pick up that black, and I'm going to be very light with my black because the black is going to dominate that color. So I'm just going to be very lightly. I'm holding it again towards the butt end of the pencil. That way I have the most amount of control with the pressure. I don't overdo it because you can always put more pencil down. You can't take it away. Okay, that looks good. Again, like I said, I like to do it twice, the two colors twice. Obviously, the more you do it, the richer your color will be. Feel free to sharpen your pencils using the handheld sharpeners, not the electric sharpener, your little caddies. Okay, one more time. Just try to get those outside areas kind of neglected. Did I do it twice with the red? I may have. That's okay. Third time's the charm, right? All right, and then last but not least, black. So I might not do this one like straight up black. I might actually just make this one a darker tone. I mean, I guess it does say black on the worksheet I made. So it's totally up to you. You could do black, or you could just make it a really darker tone, meaning like we're just going to start with the black and then mix in the red, and it'll be the darkest red on the value scale. See why we started with the red first on the previous one? Because when I try to go over it with the black, it doesn't come through very well. Great. I know it looks pretty black on the screen, but on my actual paper, oh, I forgot about this little light on there. I don't know if that's going to do anything. Maybe it helped a smidge, who knows. Okay. All right, so that is part one. All right, so we are done with that. All right, so we are going to keep out our red colored pencil, and we are also going to need a green colored pencil. So I'm going to choose Ooh, this is a tough call. I think this is like the more traditional green. So I've got like two different shades of green. This one's like more like grass green. This one's a little bit more like a yellow green. So I'm gonna go with this one. This is number 33. Choose one that's, you know, pretty similar. So we're looking for like a green. All right. I mean, I guess I could test them too. All right, let's see. So there's our red. Yeah, I like that green. Yep. All right, so I'm going to use number 33. You might not have the exact same number as me, but that's okay. All righty. Okay, so here we go. All right, so we are going to start with our complementary colors. Oh, oops, I kind of forgot about this. We'll work our way back up there in a moment. Okay, so we're going to start with our red. So you can use, I'm going to use number 9. This one, they're pretty similar. So you got number 9 and number 8. I think the, oh, that's a tough call. All right, we'll go with number 8. Okay, so I'm going to start with number 8. And I am going to start shading, and I'm going to drag it about halfway over. Okay, I'm going to turn my paper just to make it a little easier for me. Again, I want those nice, sharp colored pencils. Try to stay in the lines. Put an even amount of pressure. I'm going to drag it on over. And I'm going to start to slowly kind of taper it off so it slowly disappears, even though it's a little bit more than halfway. Beautiful. And I'm going to take the green, and I'm going to start to drag it on over. From the right-hand side. And I'm going to start to mix it on into that red. So these colors kind of cancel one another out. So if you're ever doing like a painting and you need to make a color a little less vivid, a little more dull, like if your orange is too bright and you're trying to make it not quite a darker orange, but like I said, a duller orange, you want to use the complementary color. So in that case, you would add more blue into the paint to dull it down. And the complementary colors are colors that are just across from one another on the color wheel. So I might drag a little bit more green on over. So the reason that we're doing this is technically when you're trying to create a darker color, you should be using the complementary color. So instead of creating a darker shade of red for an apple to create like a shadow, instead of using black, technically using color theory, you should be using green. So like I said, just lots of back and forth layering. Kind of like that. All right, so we want that nice mix. Beautiful. All right, stick those back. All right, we need orange. So I'm going to use orange number 5. And then I've got a couple of different blues to choose from. I've got blue 23 and blue 21. I think I'm going to go with blue. Let's just test it out. Let's see. This is 23. And this is 21. I think I'm going to go with 21. All right. If you don't have those colors, again, it's not going to make or break it. Just as long as it's not like, you know, a baby blue or a light blue. We're looking like for the authentic blue color. Okay. All right, same thing, my friends. Turn it off to the side. Just make it easier. We're going to drag the orange over. So we're going to start on the left with the orange. We're going to drag it on over. Drag it, drag it, and then once we start to get over there, we're going to start to taper. It should start to fade away. Beautiful. All right, grabbing that blue. Working from the opposite side now. Drag it on over. And we're going to start to do that mixing. I do want it to taper off, so I'm going to push really lightly on one hand side. All right, a layer again. Bring in some more of that orange. Beautiful. And your blue. It should always be really subtle. You never should be able to see like a distinct line from one color to the other. If you can, that means you need to go back and do some more blending. These colors should really just taper off and flow through one another. Okay, beautiful. All right, now we just got to do yellow and purple. So I'm going to grab my yellow. I'm going to use number 3. And my purple. I've only got one, so I'm going to use number 19. And again, I'm going to start for the yellow to the left. And we're going to drag it over to the right. Wonderful. Alrighty. Okay. Take that purple and drag it on over. Okay, switch back to the yellow. I might just do one more of the yellow. really dominates. All right, fabulous. Okay. Alrighty, so, I feel like we're going to leave this one for the last just because we have a good flow going on with the blending. So we're going to move down to this last one. All right, so for this bottom activity, you are going to need a black. So black, number 54. You're going to need a red. I'm going to use 2. So I'm going to use number 9, and I'm also going to use a red-orange, which is number 7. And then I am also going to use, I think I'm going to use number 4 too. I could also like throw this one into the mix. It's an even lighter one, but I think these will suffice. So as long as you have a black, some kind of red, orange, and a yellow, you should be good. All right, so the goal for this activity is so that it blends seamlessly. It shouldn't be like black, red, orange, yellow. It should flow really nicely, kind of like a flame, okay? So they should just smoothly blend one to the other. All right, so again, I'm gonna bring my paper up, keep it to the side, it's just easier for me. Okay, so again, hold it towards the back. That is the key to getting nice blending, is that you don't put too much pressure on your pencil, because then it's harder to add in more layers because you have burnished. Anytime you push really hard with a colored pencil and you build up a lot of that wax, that is called burnishing, and we don't want to do that right now. So I'm going to start with the black and drag it over to the red. Now again, I want to make it darker towards the left-hand side, but I'm going to start with this nice light tone for now. Okay, beautiful. I'm actually going to move up a little bit more on the pencil so I can put a little bit more pressure. Because again, you can always add more pressure. It's hard to remove the pencil once you put it down. Not impossible, but it's always better just to add than remove. So as I get towards the side here, you can see I'm getting really close up on my pencil. That way I can burnish a little bit. Looking nice. Okay. All right, so it's got a nice flow. I'm going to take my red next, and I'm going to start in the black. I'm not going to just start in. All right, so now that I'm seeing this red, it's kind of more like a maroon. I might switch to that other red color. But this was a good red to start off with. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to drag that over into the black. So again, the goal is that smooth transition. Alright, actually, so like I said, I'm going to switch to the other red. So I want it a little bit more vivid than that, but I'm going to start, again, on top of that previous red that we already put in. Because the goal of this is smooth blending. Alright, so I feel like there's like kind of like a line right here, so I'm actually gonna grab that other red again, go back in, and layer. It's tedious, it takes a while, that's how the pros do it. Alright, okay, back to this red. Okay, so then we're gonna switch over to that red-orange color. So I want to start dragging that red still over. So I want a nice seamless transition. Start to drag it on over to the yellow. Switch it up. Okay. Drag that yellow on into the red-orange. So technically this should be like our orange color right here. Make sure it's nice and even. I'm gonna go back in. That's not my orange. And the more you layer, the more vibrant and rich your colors will be. And I always think it's really important that you should always be color mixing. You really shouldn't very often just be using colored pencils straight out of the box or out of the tin as one single color. Having those layers is what helps make it look really realistic and vibrant. All right, great. All right, so again, should have that nice, smooth transition. Okay, all right, so last but not least, we are going to be doing our little circle up here. So we're going to be creating a tint, we're going to be creating a shade, and a tone. Okay, so I kind of plotted out where the different areas are supposed to be. So the first one is our highlight, which is white. And I have seemed to, how did I misplace my white? There it is. Okay. All right, so I'm actually going to put some white in there. This is where the light is reflecting off of the ball because it's the closest to the light source. So we know that the light source or the sun is coming from this direction because it's always going to be towards the top, and the shadow is the furthest part from the light source. Okay, great. All right, and then we're also going to put in another highlight here. So I'm going to put this part in white. And when I'm shading, we're going to kind of shade and color in the shape of this crescent here. So this is what we call doing, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on it? Directional shading. So this is going to help create the illusion of form. We're going to create the illusion that this is round. If I were to color back and forth straight, it would flatten the circle and it wouldn't look like a sphere. So we're trying to create this illusion that this thing is actually three-dimensional by curving our lines. Okay, So we are going to start with our red. So I'm going to use that number 8 again. Okay. So I'm going to start to color, and I'm holding it again towards the back because it's going to be the lightest. Up towards the top, and I'm going to kind of avoid that crescent area. Move on to the other side. So we're kind of creating this down here. So eventually our mark is going to, so right now it's kind of curving like a rainbow. Eventually it's going to start to go the opposite way and start to curve like a smile. So once we kind of get around this area here, and start to carefully transition. Oh, I'm shading, so now again I'm doing that smile. Still holding my pencil towards the end. That way I have the most amount of control. I'm still doing that curved directional shading. Okay, so sometimes when you have a area, there's this thing called a reflected light. This is where it's kind of a little bit lighter. It kind of bounces. You can see it in the little diagram down here, how there's this little like just blip of white. So I'm going to start by putting a little bit of white down there. And then we're going to layer that red on top. That way we get that nice kind of light red again. Awesome. And bring that up and kind of connect it. Okay, so we kind of have this nice red right now, but it doesn't feel like a sphere yet. So we got to start to add in some of the darker color. So I am going to start to not only put more pressure on here, not a ton, because I still need to mix in that complementary color. Remember we talked about that down here? So what complementary color would we need to use in order to create a more realistic shadow, but not black? Hopefully you're thinking, or you said, green. So again, still shading in that curved directional shading. And then start to put a little bit on top of there, so it's like a really light pink too. This is looking lovely. Okay, all right. Now we're gonna grab that green. So I'm gonna use number 33. And start at that crescent. We're gonna fade it on out. All right, so I'm gonna bounce back and forth between the two. Starting to put more pressure. I want this to start filling in. There's a lot of white paper still kind of showing through. So I need to put a little bit more pressure on there, and maybe even, I know it's a pretty decent point, I might need to resharpen it again. slow and steady really wins the race. You're not going to win any art competitions if you're just trying to fly through this. Good things take time. All right, so I'm going to probably do that shadow maybe one more time. I want that green to just slowly, slowly fade. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we are going to do our cast shadow with our color plus complementary. So same thing again, just kind of like what we did here. We're going to do red and green together. So I'm going to start with the red. And our shadow wants to be flat. I'm not going to be curving it this time. And as I have it go out towards the edge, I like to have it taper off. So I'm actually going to put more pressure underneath the sphere, underneath that ball, and have it slowly fade out because it's going to be the darkest right underneath there. That looks pretty good. All right, let's start to add in that green. So it kind of feels like the green is kind of dominating the red, which is okay for right now. But we don't want it to feel mostly green. We want to have that kind of darker red kind of tone. So I'm just going to make sure I go back and continue to mix it in and layer so that there's a nice balance. We're looking for balance. All right, that looks really good. So I think that's as far as we are going to get for today, and then we will work on this worksheet. I'm going to continue the video, but this will just be for next class. Yeah, so I'll make another video for this one. All right, so once this is done, you need to take a picture of it, glue this in your sketchbook, please, so you don't lose it. Glue it in your sketchbook, take a picture of it, upload it to Google Classroom so I can see what you did and so that you can get class credit. All right, thanks for stopping by, guys.